My name is Jordan McKee. I'm a principal analyst at 451 Research, part of S&P Global Market Intelligence, and my coverage areas include digital payments and fraud prevention. The digital acceleration that has unfolded during the pandemic has thrust many merchants into e-commerce for the first time or at a significantly different scale. And that's especially the case for merchants that are operating across a wide range of different non-retail verticals like medical, automotive, gaming. To embrace this digital shift, it's imperative that merchants implement strong fraud management processes, and that's especially true if you're a merchant that's newer to e-commerce. We often see merchants that are less experienced in e-commerce quickly become targets of fraudsters. This can result in a variety of operational distractions as they become inundated with chargebacks. It can lead to negative customer experiences, of course, to losses, and it's a growing problem for the industry. In our Voice of the Enterprise research, we've seen that more than 2/3 of merchants have reported a year-over-year increase in fraud volume for their businesses. And this fraud goes far beyond just traditional payment fraud. It extends into areas like friendly fraud, where of those merchants that have noted an increase in fraud volume, more than 1/3 have seen friendly fraud on the rise. Friendly fraud is challenging. It's difficult to get a handle on. It can be malicious in nature, where a customer makes a purchase, intends to keep that item, but also wants to secure a refund. So they file a dispute with their card issuer. It can stem from misinformation. Perhaps a cardholder is reviewing their billing statement. They don't recognize a charge, and so they decide the next course of action is to file a dispute. Getting a handle on fraud and friendly fraud, very challenging. The way that you go about it is you take a step back and you look for a starting point. From our vantage point, that starting point is digital identity. Digital identity is imperative because it allows you to pull in a wide variety of different types of identity signals, things like login velocity, account age, geolocation, at every customer touch point in real time, and compare those interactions that you're having as a business to previous interactions you've had to build up a more robust view on the authenticity of that interaction. The benefit goes beyond just simply stopping fraud. It's also about identifying your good customers so you can provide them a streamlined experience from account creation all the way through to payment. There's a variety of direct and indirect costs that are associated with chargebacks, and these costs can have both near and long-term implications for a business. Direct costs tend to be more financial in nature. This, of course, is things like lost merchandise, it's lost shipping fees, it's chargeback fines and fines coming down from the networks. It perhaps can be a higher processing rate from your payment service provider if you're placed in a higher risk category. Indirect costs, somewhat less tangible in nature, but equally as damaging. It's labor that's wasted investigating chargebacks. It's the friction that you're creating for customers. It's the damage that's occurring to your brand. Across these different types of costs, this results in operational issues. This results in customer experience implications, certainly financial ramifications. And these can be somewhat different across verticals. For a merchant that participates in the gaming vertical, it could mean less capital to invest in new product development and innovation. For a merchant in the medical field, it might mean that their customer service representatives are tied up handling disputes, so they have less time to take care of patients that are in need. For a merchant in the health and beauty sector, it could mean lower authorization rates because card issuers have become increasingly skeptical about the quality of the transactions that they're submitting. That results in false declines. That sends their customers away to a competitor. While the differences might vary somewhat across merchant verticals, there is one commonality, and that, of course, is that the customer is always going to be the loser. Without an ability to effectively discern your good customers from criminals, the end-to-end customer experience, really the business as a whole, is going to suffer. And that's a key reason why we believe that strong fraud management needs to have digital identity at the core. Ideally, the goal for businesses is to stop fraud chargebacks before they occur. And a good starting point to do that is to leverage advanced AI and large data networks to develop a deeper level of understanding on the extent to which you can trust the interactions that you're having as a business. That, of course, requires you to pull in a variety of digital identity signals. These are things like login velocity, account age, geolocation at each and every customer touch point, and comparing those with interactions that you've had previously to make an assessment on the extent that you can trust them. A benefit of this approach is that one, it allows you to not just prevent fraud, but it allows you to identify your good customers so you can reward them with the VIP experience that they desire. It also allows you to identify instances of suspicious or abusive behavior so you can handle those in a more delicate fashion. One of the key value props that we see around digital identity is implementing a more adaptive approach to fraud prevention. So for instance, if you encounter a login that's been associated with a suspicious identity, you can step that login up with a challenge question or perhaps serve up a one-time passcode rather than making it a requirement for every customer. Very similarly, if you encounter a customer that's a known abuser of your return policies, you can dynamically trigger a more stringent return policy rather than making that a blanket requirement for each and every customer. So we really see digital identity and adaptive fraud prevention as things that go hand in hand. And naturally, providers that have a large base of digital identity data are going to be in a better position to execute because there's a decent chance they've either encountered that identity elsewhere across their network, or they can compare the attributes associated with that identity to the attributes associated with known and trusted identities that they've encountered before. Another hallmark of effective fraud management is employing a dispute and chargeback management tool. This allows you as the merchant to receive notification in real time when a dispute is filed, and that allows you to act instantaneously, whether that's triggering a refund if that's the desired course of action, or submitting more information to the cardholder as well as the card issuer so they have further context on that transaction. Ultimately, it results in a better customer experience. It allows you to avoid damage with the relationships that you have with your customers while providing you with a mechanism to curb losses by more efficiently and more effectively handling the disputes that come your way.